In this episode of 6 Months to 6,000, Carter and I talk about how hard it is to actually grow a YouTube channel and what we're going to do about it. Let's go. Hey, what's up, man?
Today was a good day. House is coming together. That's a good thing, but there's delays as always. So moving, so scheduling, everything just becomes like life just becomes a mess. And it always is. And then it's like, okay, well, what are you doing to combat that and to try to have sanity? So as is typical of our friendship for 20 plus years, you have a very direct way of doing it. And I'm like, I'm going to find a shortcut, you know?
Well, no, I mean, I think your shortcut is right. I mean, you're talking about batching. So
ain't no batching.
It didn't happen. Okay.
Ain't no batching happens. So the fail safe, I will talk about it, but the fail safe was I am doing these live shows, and we talked about it. We just watched the premiere, or not the premiere, but the second episode on your channel. And so doing the live shows, I don't have to record. I don't have to edit. There's no bumpers, whatever. And everybody in the community knows the people in the community. And so they're watching.
Yeah.
And it's growing my subscriber base, it's growing that. So I'm in the intermediate crazy time, I'm leveraging a prior, community work, still producing good content, but it's in a different sphere. And actually, to be honest, I've done a fair amount of thinking about the direction of the channel and kind of where that's going to head to get some more clarity so that we can have more meaningful conversations focused on the six months to 6,000 rather than just.
You are liking what you're seeing when you have engagement and community, right?
Totally. Always.
Part of this consistency phase over the next 2 months or so is finding some expertise somewhere along the line, right?
Yep.
So we shared the roadmap. If you want to follow along with us on the roadmap, there's a link in the description of this video. Yeah, there it is. Looks like that. And so thanks, Carter. And so you can download that and follow along with us. But there's the first step has it's basically the consistency cycle has branding, format, and expertise. Is that right?
You're exactly right. Look at you.
So it's like I wrote it or something. So the part of this consistency cycle, the third part is that expertise part where you want to kind of reach out to your community, have one-on-one conversations, just have a phone call, have something where you're starting to ask them, hey, look, I've been doing this race chase thing. Like I'm thinking about doing this new thing. What do you think? Is that something that you'll come along with me, or you don't like that? Or like, give me some feedback. Is that a good idea? Right. You start trying to consult, and through that, hopefully you'll find, well, hey, they've been following me because my insights are really good on how I approach the treasure hunt. And it's actually, or they really like my personality. They think I'm funny and they want me to talk, and really they'll follow me along for whatever I do. But you're going to get these insights and you're going to start collecting them and figuring out, okay, I'm valued in my community right now for these things. Right.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's like the big, kind of, it's like a shortcut, but it's not, because I put in a lot of work 2 years ago on it. And so for anybody that's listening now and going, oh, well, wait a minute, you go, okay, well, I did this every day for 4 months 2.5 years ago.
Part of that is also finding your community that you actually like hanging around, right? So if you start going to the places where those people congregate, whether in the comments or Discord channels or Facebook groups or anywhere where they're hanging out, you will find other people that have the same aspiration. They want to talk about the same things, but their channel is just starting off as well. And what you'll build is and this is kind of in the next cycle, but you'll start building a community of people that are at your level, and you right, the rising tide, right, lifts all
boats.
Yeah. And so you guys will start doing what you just did in the treasure hunting community, right? You'll start having that synergy where, hey, I'm talking about this, I'm talking about this other guy, I have him on the channel, he has me on the channel, right? You start building these communities and these conversations where you might not be able to go after Jordan Peterson right out of the gate. Some people try it, right? But you'll find like-minded people that are on the journey at your level, and you collaborate with them, right?
Totally. Yeah. And I think that's what's really interesting, is that's actually one of the things that I'm going to be talking about with my guests tomorrow afternoon, is that we found ourselves entering the YouTube universe community of treasure hunting at the same time. And we were growing our channels, close, the same, similar number of subscribers, growing it at the same time. And so, we're going to talk about that tomorrow. And it was nothing that I foresaw 2.5 years ago. And it's intimidating to be doing it again 2.5 years later, but knowing I've already done it.
I feel it really hard, because you're going to see my numbers and be like, dude, you didn't do anything this week.
but that's where it wasn't. And that's what, like, our personal friendship and stuff, we talk behind the scenes, and it's like, that was my December of 2018. Every day I put out a video and I was like, crickets, like nothing, and it was like, I got like an hour of watch time. Holler, I got like,
yeah, I told you. Yeah. So I emailed Carter or texted Carter about one of the folks in our community that I guess heard, either from us or somewhere, that you need to just be consistent and put out content. And so she took it upon herself for like a year. I kid you not, where she just went on Zoom and like recorded an hour of her just talking. And it was like, she was basically in the dark. Like, you couldn't see what was going on. You couldn't hear anything that was really happening. It was really horrible. But she was trying, right? Like, but her views, if you looked at her channel, her YouTube channel, is like 0 views, 1 view, 0 views, 2 views. Like, it was like really, and so she got the train moving in the right direction, but never really like learned or improved or course corrected. She just thought, if I just grind at the same level, something will happen and different.
and that's the main thing for me, is that I'm asking for your patience with me as I go through a rough couple of weeks of personal stuff where it's really busy and moving with a pregnant wife and trying to, whatever, take care of all of that stuff. I'm still trying to produce, but I'm not going to be able to put the kind of effort into this in terms of upping the professionalism, like adding the bumpers and doing whatever. So I'm like, okay, let's do the consistency for 6 weeks or whatever it is. And then, but I also want it to be honest and show people, hey, it is about consistency for 2 months, and don't get discouraged, but it's not about, like what you just said, consistency for a year of herming. Like, I know that in 2 months, if my production level doesn't go up, or if my marketing doesn't go up, if I'm not following this thing, like, that's the whole point of us doing these videos, is to make it better.
Yeah. Well, and there's 3 areas of consistency though, right? Yep. So the first one is branding. Okay. And you can get better at branding over time, but basically you want to start dialing in the visuals, what your show is about, right? That was the 5-word exercise, right? So the 5-word exercise is explain what you do, what your channel is about in 5 words, right?
I got it down to 4.
Well, this one is 4, right? 6 months to 6,000. That's four words. And you did
five.
get it.
That's 5 words. You just said the 6,000 was 1 word. That's 2 words. 6.
Well, it's a number technically, but yeah. It's 2 words. Okay, 5 words. I'll give it to you. So, but I think, that exercise really forces you to keep narrowing down, right?
Yep.
And really just get it. And because that's the guiding thing that especially when you're doing contemporaneous speech and you're just trying to get it off the top of your head, you're going to want to have something where you're like, all right, this is what's happening. I'm talking about this. So it kind of guides you back when you get off on tangents and you start trying to, oh, well, I want to talk about this. And then the branding, as far as like you mentioned before, like what kind of clothes am I wearing? How close to the camera am I? Is the lighting good? Do I like my background? Am I giving off the right kind of vibes? Like all those kind of things. Like what are my colors? Like, am I using any fonts on my titles? How are my thumbnails, right? What are your 5 words?
A uniquely informed perspective.
Okay. A uniquely informed perspective. So if somebody
I could probably put a 5th word in there and say a uniquely informed economic perspective.
Okay. But when somebody watches
perspective, how about that?
Right. Well, but when somebody watches that, they're going to want that as the filter.
Yeah.
And if you're consistent in that, then you are going to be talking about things in that light, right? Yep. And so you can pull in whatever you want. Hey, I just got back from this. I went on this trip. Maybe you even pull in somebody, when you're in Iceland, like, hey, what do you think about the economy? Oh, yeah. You don't know. Okay, cool. But you're filtering with that. And that's the anchor that you can kind of depend on. One tip I did want to share on headlines, if you search, and I'll put the link in the description, but there's it's mostly a blogging tool, but it's by monsterinsights.com, headline-analyzer. And what you do is you type in your headline you think is great, and it'll rank it based on how interesting it is. Yeah. And it'll give you a score 0 to 100. And they recommend you get over 70. And so, you'll think you have a really great headline. You'll put it in there and it's like, no, that's like a 50. Or no, that's like a 60. And so you can play around with it and really start getting some interesting headlines. And it's not, obviously once you get super advanced, you can start playing with things like a lot of influencers will do, all lowercase, that's it, I'm done. Like that's the title. Right. Yeah. And if you've been following them for a long time, you're like, oh man, what's done? Like, oh man,
yeah, exactly.
Right. And so this is not like the end all be all of headline writing. It's just a way to kind of get you started and start really breaking down a headline and why does it work? Why is it good? And for purposes of YouTube specifically, you want to make sure it's a certain length, obviously, right? Because if it's in the feed, you don't want it to like bleed off and the main part of the idea is like cut off and you can't even read it. So there are some length limits on YouTube, but I think it's a good exercise if you want to play around with headlines, doing that. There's also some tools you can search in Google for helping you design thumbnail images. There's a major emotion that you want to communicate, which is why you'll see a lot of YouTube influencers always have their face in some sort of emotional, like, whatever,
yeah, exactly,
like they're doing some crazy like face on there. That's because YouTube has an AI that tries to gauge your emotions.
Oh, interesting.
And they can read the words on your screen, the graphical words, and they can read your emotion. And so it's very interesting.
That's creepy.
How that works. Yeah, it is really. And so there have been people that I've been following over the years that have said, I'm never going to do the emotional face thing. That's below me. Like I'm not ever doing that. And then they learn more about the algorithm and they're like, okay, I'm going to do that.
Right.
So this might be something that's really interesting for you to try to explore.
No, I have channel / capital U, capital C,
C,
lowercase P,
yep.
D, X, Y.
Okay.
Z.
We got it. We got it. All right. So here's what I'm going to point out. See this right here?
Yeah.
YouTube.com/Jeff Dolan. Super easy to share and tell people about.
Yeah, I just want to tell you I'm better than you.
So no, this is a step that you have to do.
How do you do this? Yeah.
This is the branding step. So log into your account.
Oh my goodness. Real time.
Go in here where it says customize channel.
Oh yeah.
All right.
Okay.
And you're going to find a place where you can have okay, so see
URL.
Channel right URL and then custom URL. That's where you're going to want to put.
Okay. The House Husband Diaries. Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so just go through all three of these under channel customization and just make sure that you have like your sections, your featured sections set up.
Okay.
Yeah, I would capture the name of your channel. Now, the interesting thing about your name is that because you haven't technically named your channel yet, you could call it something that is like Carter Sitterson. And what that allows you to do, not that I'm saying you should do that, you should think about your branding, but what that allows you to do is name your channel anything you want or change it in the future.
Okay.
And it still pivots off your name. You have to have 100 or more subscribers, and your account has to be at least 30 days old. You have to have an uploaded profile picture and an uploaded banner image. So if you have those things, you can create a custom URL. Oh, here it is. You can remove and set up a new custom URL for your channel up to 3 times per year.
Okay, cool.
So let's look at, I'm at 315.
Perfect.
So
you're growing.
I grew by what? What is that? 3? Ooh, I think 478. Nice. That's a good. What was it last time? 469.
I think it was 469. So yeah, I think it's like 9 this week.
Good job, man.
Yeah. So leveraging leveraging the community. So it's like I'm in step 2, the community, past the consistency. I was like, all right, I can leverage some of the community stuff early and continue those one-on-ones. And it's sort of like retargeting.
So what was your video, your first video?
My top 3 most terrifying.
So see how it cuts off the title, but you have episode 188 taking up a bunch of room.
Yep.
And then over here it says K-Pro joins the House Husband Diaries for some. And it's like, okay, we need to work on that. Now,
okay.
What's interesting about that though is you brought in looks like another YouTuber. Is that accurate?
Yep.
Okay. And did she bring a bunch of viewers? Because this was a significant bump in views from any of these other ones. So she is a highly followed. K-Pro is a bigger name. Okay. A couple things just for the future is you're gonna want to call her out, her handle in the description here, either link to her channel, or you can actually link her channel in the actual there'll be a little tag card up here. So if you edit this video, you can add her profile to your video and she'll show up here. But most people, they're going to tag her in the comments and then shout out, kind of explain some of the topics you talked about. I know this was live, but you can go back in later and just say, And the cool thing about YouTube, a little tip here, is you can actually put timestamps in here. So you can actually have brackets with the time signature, and YouTube will make it a link. And then you just off to the right, you put what it is, like what you talked about.
And then people can just click on that and go straight to it. Nice.
Correct. Yep. And part of branding as well is coming up with a good description of your channel in general that you're just going to include as a boilerplate in all of your videos. So you can kind of have like the brief description of what is going to happen. And this, like probably about like that much will show up on most devices, right? TVs or screens or whatever. And then everything else just falls under the show more, show less.
Okay.
And you can expand it down. It gives you a lot of room to write a lot of stuff, but somewhere right underneath is just the description of the show and any links you have. It should be like here's what this is about, like just to catch everyone up. Here's what this is about. Here's what our show is about. And this is where you're going to have some of those call to actions where you're going to say, subscribe to the channel, go to my website, opt in, buy my products. I mentioned these links. I mentioned these channels. I mentioned these books. Like that in and of itself can be a pretty big investment of time to get your, descriptions right. And honestly, YouTube knows that people are doing that. And so they've really deprioritized the descriptions area.
Yeah.
Because they want you to forward people to more videos. So in your actual videos, you actually want to encourage people to go watch other related videos. So just a heads up on that. All right. So we talked about branding. We talked about format. We talked about expertise. These are all revolving around this consistency step to just get the muscle memory going.
Yep.
And I think you're doing a good job of balancing your life while also getting some content out there.
Appreciate it.
But just start taking those little steps to start tweaking these little things, and they'll start to compound. It's a quick lesson here. Let's take a look at some of these in the right hand column. So you've got exactly what I was saying before, Dr. Shiva here. Can you read that headline?
No, absolutely
not. Right. Even though he thinks it's a pretty good headline because it's yellow on a black background.
Exactly.
I can't read it on the only thing I could read is Dr. Shiva on the actual thumbnail. And then he's got a bunch of pictures all jammed in there. And he's got, just a bunch of little logos and stuff at the bottom. Like I have no clue what's going on in that thumbnail. So that's a very weak thumbnail. And then he puts his name as the first thing, Dr. Shiva Live, breaking. And then the name of his channel is Dr. Shiva, right? So it's like, okay, we got it. It's Dr. Shiva, but like, what are you talking about? Oh, breaking, U.S. oligarchs cornering Russia, ... Like, what are you talking about, right? Like, I don't know what he's talking about, but he's live. So that's good. But the kind of thumbnails I'm talking about are like this: Europe countries. See how big that is? You can read that. 17 most beautiful countries in Europe, travel video. That's perfect. And look at the difference. 1.7 million views, right? Look at this one up here, 1 hour.
Yeah, see,
but hour to me, daily dose of internet. No,
but to me, Europe countries is incorrect English. It should be European countries.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is look at this one with the Lambo, 1 hour.
Yeah, what does that mean?
It just has a Lambo in it. It says a whole hour of daily dose of internet, no intros, 3.3 million. Super simple. Look at this one. We found this truck at the bottom of Lake Powell, 1.7 million, 3 weeks ago, right? And it's just a picture of a truck.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It ties the headline with what the picture is. So they didn't even need any words on that thumbnail because we found this truck says it all. That's the truck. I'm going to click on that and find out how in the world did you find that truck at the bottom of Lake Powell, right?
Do you know what about Lake Powell?
Yeah, it's drying up.
Yeah, exactly.
It's crazy.
All right. So anyway, I have a lot of work to do with what you're saying.
Well, look, I don't want to overwhelm you. I think the next step is just continue to work on your consistency of either batching some of your videos when you're going to be busy, putting on your calendar that you're going to work on these videos, and then start honing in on your channel and capture the name, decide on what kind of actual link you want for your channel, not just channel / whatever.
Cool. Well,
awesome,
I appreciate it, man. Let's do it.
Yeah, cool. Well, hey, have a good week. And again, if you are following along, thank you so much. In the description is the link for the roadmap that we keep talking about that we're going to be following. And of course, we'll tweak it as we go. I'm a little nervous in following it because it's hard.
Yeah, but it's good.
But we're taking those steps and we're trying to grow our channel. So thanks for joining in the community with us, and we will see you next week. Take care.
On the next episode. Have a good one.